I am a Tamil from Sri Lanka. I lived in the Jaffna area until all-out war destroyed our lives, and I was forced to run away for the sake of my children. After I finished school in 1993, I went to university to study pharmacology. Shortly after that, I got married. The early years of our lives were so wonderful. We were blessed with 3 children, 2 of whom were twins. I started working in a hospital in the Jaffna area as a pharmacologist. My husband was also working at the same hospital as a clerk administrator. We were living with my husband's parents who took care of our children while we worked nearby. We managed very well as a family within our community. It seemed that all our dreams were being fulfilled. It was the happiest time of my life. But then the war for an independent Tamil state started to overtake us. As the Tamil Eelam movement gathered momentum, so did the attacks by the police and army increase against the Tamil population. Our lives began to change, and we lived each day not knowing what would happen next. We knew that sooner or later it would turn bad, but we never could have guessed how bad it would be. We often talked about leaving. My sister-in-law had moved away to Europe, and another had moved to Australia. But we were not sure of where to go or how to go about it. At that time, Jaffna meant everything to us. It was our world. I know different now. If only I had known, then everything may have been different for us today. We just carried on from day to day, doing our best to avoid the conflict that had surrounded us. Somehow, it felt safer because we worked in the hospital. Then the full-scale army offensive started. The government was determined to break the back of the Tamil tigers by whatever means. War began. And everything changed overnight. At work, we were desperately fighting to save the lives of men, women, and children who were being injured daily by the fighting. The government decided it had to win the war at all costs and started using whatever means available to break the back of the Tamil resistance. The local population was caught in between. No one was safe anymore. At the hospital, we saw daily the horror of severe burns from phosphorus bombs and other weapons that were being used. There was very little we could do. We were running low on supplies as well. Both my husband and I were working night and day to do whatever we could to help the injured and suffering people. We didn't have time to think about anything else, not even our own safety. Aircraft were flying overhead regularly. We did not think that the hospital would be a target as well. But then it happened. They bombed the hospital and the surrounding area as well. Even the school. When the hospital was bombed, I was on my way back home. I had just left and was walking home to get a little rest when the bombs fell. I felt the heat of the blast and was thrown to the ground, but I wasn't injured. I looked back and saw the hospital building was burning. My head was screaming. My only thoughts were for my husband, who was still in the hospital at the time. After the shock, I rushed back to the hospital through the chaos around me. Finding my husband was the only thing I could think of. But when I got there, I saw that most of the building where he would have been was gone, and fire was pouring out of the top floor. Many dead and burnt bodies and body parts were lying on the ground. There was twisted metal everywhere. My heart stopped. In a haste, I did whatever I could to help with the rescue while asking, looking, hoping to find my husband alive. It must have been some hours later I came across his body. I only recognized him from his shoes. His face was fully burnt away. I then decided that for the safety of my children, we must leave immediately. Safe areas had been designated for the people. So, along with my in-laws, we moved to a safe camp. What we didn't know was the hours of interrogation and harassment I was going to face just because I worked at the hospital. At one stage, the harassment got so bad, I attempted to take my life. Fortunately, my mother-in-law saved me. After that, they decided that we had to get out of the camp at any cost. My in-laws secretly paid money to a paramilitary guard at the camp, and one moonless night, under the cover of darkness, we fled to Colombo. But it wasn't safe for us in Colombo either. We lived in fear and never went out in daylight. We were desperately looking for any way out. My sister-in-law asked us to join her in Australia. It was our only option. We took a flight to Singapore late one night and from there moved to Malaysia and registered with UNHCR as a refugees. It was not easy in Malaysia for us. We were not welcome there. Eventually, with help from my other sister-in-law in Germany, we got on a boat to Australia. and after 2 long weeks at sea, we landed at Christmas Island. 3 months later, we were transferred to the Leonora Detention Center in Western Australia and spent 18 months there while our refugee status was processed. We were released into the community and into the care of the Multicultural Services Center, who provided us with a place to live and helped us settle in. Even it is so peaceful and quiet here, the shock of that terrible day has not left me, and those terrible times we faced after has not left me. Even my children suffer from nightmares and run to me for help when they hear planes and helicopters flying overhead. I am so lonely and feel so empty inside. I am being taken care of by assets who are assisting me with coming to terms with what happened to me and my children. But often I wake up at night in a cold sweat from a nightmare that happens over and over. The nightmares is about me looking for my husband's body amongst the flames and the burnt and twisted bodies on the ground. Always the next morning after such nightmares, hollowness overcomes me and I find it very difficult to go through the rest of the day. I break down and cry easily and get very tense and nervous. When I was running away to the camp, there were so many people asking for my help along the way, but I had to take care of myself and my family. I often feel so guilty having left so many people behind and not being able to look after them. Sometimes I feel like ending it all, but I know I have to go on for the sake of my children. They are all I have left in my life. I have to live for them. I go to see the counselor at Assets often. It is helping me ease the pain. But I know that for me, like the cut of a sword, the scar will always remain.